Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Divorce Coach Diaries. I am Meg, the divorce coach. So, this week I've been thinking a lot about discomfort and how one of the admirable traits of so many of the successful people that I know personally have in common is that they are really good at tolerating discomfort. And some of these opportunities for discomfort are chosen by us, and some of them just come as part of being a human on earth. So, as we all know, some of the times that we are given the opportunity to get better at being uncomfortable, some of those times we choose. Maybe you are deciding that you want to go to the gym more often and that you want to get physically stronger, healthier. You have some different physical goals that the gym can help you with. That is an opportunity for discomfort that we are going to choose. And if you have ever gone to the gym, you know that sometimes it's fun. There might be a class that you really like, and sometimes it is not fun at all. It's hard. It might be really early in the morning. You might not feel like going. That is uncomfortable. But we continue to choose it because we want the results that going to the gym are going to give us. So that's a really obvious, simplistic way that you might choose discomfort in your life. And there are other times in our lives that discomfort comes to us and we get to choose what we're going to do with it. Maybe you are in the middle of a high conflict divorce. This can be extremely uncomfortable. That is not news to you if you are in the middle of it. Perhaps you are figuring out how to co parent with now your ex spouse. Also, very uncomfortable. Maybe you are trying to get better at being more honest and doing less people pleasing. Also, very uncomfortable. But all of these areas, some that we choose, some that we don't, it is worth it to grow your capacity for discomfort. Let's talk a little bit about why discomfort is so challenging for us. Our brains are wired for comfort. Our brains hate discomfort. Our brains have this thing that we call the motivational triad. Our brain's jobs are to keep us safe, avoid pain, and seek pleasure. Discomfort is the opposite of all three of those areas. Discomfort feels very dangerous. Discomfort takes effort and energy, and discomfort is painful. It's not pleasurable. So, our brains do not like discomfort. And left to their default mode, they're going to choose the opposite of discomfort all the time. And so then it's up to us to override that default mode and get better at being uncomfortable. Because why? Discomfort is where growth happens. You may have heard something like, growth doesn't come from ease. And it's true. This is a true statement, and it doesn't mean that it's easy. It's not going to be, but it's worth it. It is work worth doing. Growing out of discomfort is worth it. So, discomfort is not a sign that anything is wrong. It just means that it's new and it's not dangerous. And let me be clear, I am not talking about the discomfort that comes from your intuition or your conscience, your inner knowing. If you are religious, you might call this the spirit. I am not saying ignore this or push past it or, lean into when your gut is telling you something is wrong or off. That is not what we are talking about today. I am a huge believer in listening to your gut, to your conscience, to the spirit. Listen to that. It is there for a reason. And if something feels wrong, don't ignore that. That is not what we are talking about today. We are talking about growing our capacity for discomfort and not pushing that away. So don't misunderstand me. We are not talking about gut feelings, intuition, any of that. Pay attention to that. Please don't ignore it. We're talking about this other side of discomfort, the discomfort that we're going to choose to lean into on purpose. So, why does discomfort show up in growth? When we are growing and expanding and developing into the next amazing version of ourselves, it's not something we've done before, because if it was, it would be easy, and growth is not ease. So, and this in between spot feels awkward sometimes. We want to grow, we recognize the discomfort, but it's so uncomfortable and it can feel scary or dangerous. And this is the spot where most people quit. And you're going to notice discomfort come up for you. And what most of us do is we buffer it away. So when you find that your buffers are showing up for you, that's a really good indicator that this is a spot where you can choose to lean into the discomfort or even notice that it's there. So maybe you find yourself scrolling on your phone, or maybe you like to buffer with eating, or maybe turning on the TV, or over drinking even. All of these are things that we do to avoid the uncomfortable feelings, this discomfort that comes with growth. So when you see those buffers coming up for you, we're not going to judge ourselves, we're not going to shame, but just pay attention and slow down and ask yourself, what is it that is uncomfortable right now? What am I trying to avoid? Maybe you are avoiding saying no when you're used to saying yes. Maybe you are avoiding having a really honest but hard conversation with someone. Maybe you are uncomfortable setting and holding your own boundaries. Maybe there is discomfort from changing a pattern in a relationship. Maybe you're trying to grow a business. This is extremely uncomfortable, and if we let it in our default mode, we're going to buffer away that discomfort. It's just what happens from being a human, and it's okay. It doesn't mean anything has gone wrong. So, what do? When you notice your buffer, you figured out what it is that is uncomfortable, what's the next step? You ask yourself from a really honest place, is this an area that I am interested in growing in? Or am I committed to growing in? And both of these answers are okay. You might not have the emotional capacity to have those really difficult conversations right now. You might want to and be interested in it, and you just don't feel like you can. That is okay. Let yourself be where you're at. But if this is an area that's really, really important to you and you are committed to growth in this area, that means that we are going to lean into this discomfort and we're going to do it no matter what. And you know what? We're not going to want to. At least half the time, we are going to want to buffer it away and give up. It doesn't mean anything has gone wrong, and it doesn't mean that we don't get to make a choice anyways. So, what does it look like if you decide that you are committed to, for example, having a difficult conversation? What does it look like? How are you committed to it, and what might that look like next? You're going to notice the discomfort. Maybe there's anxiety, maybe there's fear, maybe there's worry. All of these feelings are normal and they are okay. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do the thing. So you're going to notice those feelings come up and you're going to just let them be there. But here's the difference. You don't have to let them be in the driver's seat. You can feel afraid and have that conversation anyways. And the most magical thing happens when you show yourself that it is not dangerous to have that conversation. You grow your capacity to do that thing. We show ourselves that we can be afraid and do it anyways. And the next time, we won't be so afraid. Our capacity has grown. It doesn't mean that we're ever going to love having difficult conversations. There's a reason they're called that. But you don't have to just buffer it away and give up and tell yourself, this is too uncomfortable, I can't do it, never mind. That's not required. You can grow and you can get better at feeling uncomfortable. And the better you are at feeling uncomfortable, the more you will be able to grow. It's like magic. So, what I want to encourage you to do this week is to just take one small step. When you notice the discomfort, don't buffer it away. Stay in it for at least 30 seconds. Feel it in your body and just let it be there and see what happens. So, if you have an area that you'd love to grow in and it's really uncomfortable, let me help you. I help people for free on Tuesdays. So come and find me. My calendar is on my website, megthedivorcecoach.com/free coaching. Come and book a session and let's talk about your capacity. Let me help you grow your capacity for discomfort and see what would be possible for you. I can't wait to hear from you. I can't wait to meet you. Have a wonderful weekend, my friends, and I'll see you next week.